Welcome back. Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah has deleted posts on his personal X account about the attack on two Minnesota lawmakers after criticism from Democrats. On Sunday morning, Lee posted a surveillance photo of the suspect, writing, "This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way." Less than 30 minutes later, Lee posted more photos of the suspect with the caption, "Nightmare on Walt Street," a reference to the Minnesota governor, but misspelling his name. Democratic Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota, who was friends with one of the lawmakers killed in the attacks, confronted Lee Monday on Capitol Hill. You see them there face to face. Smith said yesterday that she was glad the posts were removed, but added she hasn't heard Lee explain why he took them down or received an apology from him. And in the wake of that politically motivated attack, some legislators are raising concerns about the lack of security. No state provides proactive protection for local legislators outside of the state capitol building, and multiple state representatives have spoken out hoping for that to change. According to NBC News, to date, at least a half a dozen public officials who may run for president in 2028 have either personally faced political violence, lost friends in such plots, or had to manage political unrest in their states. It's a stunning, stunning line. Joining us now, Executive Director of Giffords, Emma Brown. Giffords is an organization dedicated to saving lives from gun violence, stemming, of course, from the shooting attack on Gabby Giffords in 2011. Emma, thanks for joining us. You see that state legislators are speaking out there after the shooting in Minnesota. There's that stunning line in our NBC story about the number of lawmakers who have been involved or impacted by this kind of political violence. What's your assessment of the political landscape right now when it comes to this?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Ali. I just want to start with the fact that what we saw this past weekend in Minnesota was devastating, and it's been a very hard week for this country. You know, no one should ever be targeted for political service, but unfortunately, that is something that we are seeing increasingly in the United States. And the reality is everybody knew Melissa Hartman and her husband, right? She was a remarkable public servant. You heard Governor Walz referring to her as the most consequential speaker in history. You hear testimonies pouring out from lawmakers who knew and loved her. She was hunted and murdered in her home, and Senator John Hoffman and his wife are very loved. They were shot and attacked as well. They are recovering, but they were shot 8 and 9 times, respectively. So, you know, you talked about Mike Lee's tweets earlier. They were awful. They weren't just thoughtless, as some have said. They were intentionally mean. And we are glad that they have come down, of course, but the fact that he wrote them and left them up in the first place tells you everything that you need to know. And I think what you're hearing from people across the board right now is that political violence is unacceptable. You know, yes, that is true. But the problem is that it is becoming acceptable, right? When our leaders fan the flames of hate and division for political gain, when our laws make it easy for anyone, dangerous or not, to get a gun, you know, and hunt legislators, we have a really significant problem in this country. So that's what I think you're seeing right now.
Yeah, because in my conversations with lawmakers, everyone has agreed we need to take the temperature down. This is a bipartisan problem that we are seeing. But is it enough to just say that, or does your organization have concrete recommendations on how this country can actually do that?
Yeah, well, I think that you're pointing something out that's really important, which is that whenever this happens, everyone will say, we have to take the temperature down, we have to take the temperature down. And then, of course, you know, we're up here again and the president is stoking division. I would start there. I would also say that that's half of the equation. The other half is that Americans are scared, you know, knowing that virtually anybody, from violent extremists to abusive partners to drug traffickers, can easily assemble a stockpile of AK-47s and use them to target and kill people, right? You know, I think it's important for folks to know that this person was driving around with 3 AK-47s and a list of legislators. And regardless of how he got his guns, and we will learn more about that certainly in the coming days and weeks, we have to ask ourselves how that happened. So when we think about what the solutions to this are, it is certainly dialing back the rhetoric on both sides, but I would say particularly from the president, who really seeks division and hate to further his agenda. And then secondly, you know, we have to make it harder for dangerous people and criminals and folks who are spiraling out of control to get weapons. You know, there are many solutions to that problem. Universal background checks, a federal red flag law, safe storage laws. We know when those solutions are implemented, fewer people are dying. And so it is a problem, you're right, for for lawmakers on both sides of the aisle now.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I also think that you're correct in pointing out that the common thread in a lot of these situations is access to guns. I know that there's a provision, for example, in the reconciliation bill that deals with gun silencers that has been controversial. We will have you back to talk about that as that legislation continues to move. But for now, it's an important conversation. Emma Brown, thank you for coming on and having it with us.
Thanks for having me.